Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. It is December 9th, 2015. For the past week, the Freddie Gray story has been back in the headlines, and today CNN is making it front and center. The reason this is so is because the trial for the police officers who are accused of his wrongful death began November 30th, exactly 33 weeks after his death. In this video, what I am going to show is that the Freddie Gray story is a completely contrived story. There is no such thing as Freddie Gray. This was a made-up story for mainstream media for the division and negative feelings that the story has created in millions of Americans. As you can recall, this story began protests and riots in Baltimore this past April. For those of you who haven't been with my channel that long, I have 5,000 new subscribers since April. You might not have seen my work. I did cover the Freddie Gray story very, very thoroughly. I must have at least 7 videos, possibly more, pertaining to Freddie Gray in April. What I want to do in this video is revisit all the facts and show how this story was contrived, why it was contrived, and how it lines up with similar stories from the past, including the beating of Rodney King, the shooting of Walter Scott, and more. Let's begin here with the headline. Why Freddie Gray Got No Medic. That headline has very inappropriate grammar. A middle school student would get X marks on their paper from their English teacher for writing such a sentence. So the question becomes, why would a headline be written this way? Why Freddie Gray Got No Medic. If you are new to my channel, what I am exposing is how the mainstream media uses the language of gematria, written like this, gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words. This headline, Why Freddie Gray Got No Medic, has a gematria that ties in with the story. Check this out, Truth Seeker. Why Freddie Gray Got No Medic sums to 137, which is the 33rd prime number. 33 is so often the number of the hoax. From the beginning of the Freddie Gray story, the number 33 was coded within, and it has been coded several times since. The original officer accused of putting all the unnecessary force on him during the arrest was Officer Garrett Miller, an officer with a 33 name. In almost every single story you've heard in the past year and longer about police officers mistreating black youth, murdering them, etc., the police officer's name has summed to 33. And if you want to go through this video channel, there are hundreds of examples documenting my point. Also, be aware of this. The United States military has a stranglehold on the news, and they push their propaganda through the news, and I think this is a major part of the reason the number 33 is coded so much. From the U.S. Army Field Manual, Rule 33-1, it is in regards to the PSYOPs, the Psychological Operations Program, which is any form of communication in support of objectives designed to influence the opinions, emotions, attitudes, or behavior of any group in order to benefit the sponsor, either directly or indirectly. And think about that definition in light of what happened in Baltimore this past April with the rioting. Remember, they had to have a baseball game with no audience, the first in history. The reason they want these events is because they spring agenda off of them. With this event, they're able to allocate more money to police departments. They're able to make legislative changes, and that's what it's all about. They need the antics, they need the reaction from the public to force through the agenda. These were headlines from CNN just days ago, December 5th. Freddie Gray to officer, I need help. And all of this stuff is coded, Truth Seeker. Check this out. I need help in Pythagorean gematria sums to 51. Just like the word conspiracy. Just like the gematria Freemason. It is the Freemasons who control our police departments, control our government, control our media, and do this coding by the numbers. Both the names Freddie and Gray have gematria of 51. Just like the phrase, I need help. Freddie Gray together sums to 102. The story is that he was arrested on April 12th and died exactly a week later, April 19th. Notice that April 12th is the 102nd day of the year, just like his name. In this practice of gematria, it's about coding words into numbers, and it's also oftentimes about having words that synchronize with dates, as Freddie Gray synchronizes with April 12th. This is another ongoing pattern that we document often. With regards to April 12th, what a lot of people don't realize is that's the date in history, April 12th, 1861, that the Civil War began. The Civil War to save the United States of America. United States of America has gematria of 102 as well. The Civil War, the first shots were fired in Charleston, South Carolina, but there were no deaths April 12th. The first death in the Civil War that's recorded in history happened April 19th in Baltimore. That death occurred when graycoats got in a conflict with protesters in Baltimore. Shots were fired, the first casualties of the war. Graycoats in Baltimore. Freddie Gray dies in Baltimore April 19th, just like the first casualty in the Civil War, April 19th, 1861. When they recreate these stories, they often code history into them. It's all about divisiveness. It's all about taunting us. It's all about making a mockery of us. Also, Truth Seeker, April 12th, 2015, the date this happened, was a date with 51 numerology. Just like Freddie, just like Gray, just like I Need Help, just like Conspiracy, just like Freemason. Freddie in Pythagorean gematria sums to 42. Freemason, the small way, equals 42. The word nigger, the small way, equals 42. And so often in the killing of black youth, they code the number 42 as well as part of a sick joke. The reason Jackie Robinson wore 42 was for this very reason. The name Michael has gematria of 51 and 33 the small way. Ferguson and Missouri both have gematria of 42. The officer who shot him was shown wearing a Blues, the hockey team shirt with the number 42 right on it. Again, this is another coded number, part of the sick joke representing the word nigger in this regard. Freddie Gray, the small way, sums to 66. He would be buried April 27th, 2015, a date with 66 numerology. And 66 days after the incident with him, the shooting in Charleston would happen at the church. And just days before this incident, there was the shooting of Walter Scott, also in Charleston. Again, Charleston and Baltimore, the cities at the beginning of the Civil War. Right now, 6 police officers are on trial. Again, that trial will end December 17th. We'll talk more about that date in a moment. These are the names of the officers. Very suspicious names. Nero and Caesar, huh? Telling you, Truth Seeker, this stuff is all contrived. All of these people are actor agents just willing to play their part. I make this note here about 33, this number that gets coded so often in regards to these stories. Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. TM for Trayvon Martin, 20 plus 13, 33. GZ for George Zimmerman, 33. Trayvon Martin would be buried on 3-3, March 3rd, corresponding with his name, kind of like Freddie Gray gets buried on the date with 66 numerology, corresponding with his name. We're going to talk more about Rodney King. Rodney King was beaten in history on March 3rd, 3-3, just like the date Trayvon Martin was buried. LAPD has gematria of 33. Police has gematria of 33. If you've ever seen the beating of Rodney King, which you can watch online, it reminds you of people in white sheets, except for they have police uniforms on. KKK, K the 11th letter, KKK, 33. Race war itself has gematria of 33. And again, in all these stories of wrongdoing by police towards black youth, the number 33 is heavily coded, without exception. Right now, we're also getting the story of Laquan McDonald. Laquan equals 66. McDonald equals 66. This story is out of Chicago. Just 2 days ago, the headlines on CNN were this. Think about this, Truth Seeker. No charges for Chicago police in wake of Ronald Johnson shooting. And then the headline right below that was new evidence in police officer Chicago Laquan McDonald shooting. McDonald, Ronald McDonald. They're really making fun of us, Truth Seeker. These headlines come at the time where San Bernardino headlines for that shooting are also in the headlines. The first McDonald's restaurant was opened in San Bernardino. And a lot of people aren't aware of this, but Ray Kroc, who opened that restaurant, is from Chicago, just like the story of Ronald Johnson and Laquan McDonald. All of these stories are contrived. None of them are real. They're all made up of the same numbers again and again.